starts. Full gas. Into the final 200 metres. The chase has begun. What a sprint, never seen this before. Absolutely fabulous.
Hello and welcome to the Netherlands for the third edition of Hammer Limburg and the second round in this year's Hammer Series. For this week's instalment of the thrilling new concept in bike racing, we're back in Vaals in the southern tip of the Netherlands for the Hammer Climb, the first of 3 days of exciting team racing involving 15 of the top squads in bike racing. That's what we have in order, and it was a great start to the 2019 Hammer Series in Norway 2 weeks ago. Let's remind ourselves now of just how it went in Hammer Stavanger. The picture-perfect setting of Stavanger, Norway kicked off the 2019 Hammer Series campaign. And with some of the world's best riders on show, this was shaping up to be another knockdown, drag-em-out affair. The Hammer Party had come to town. And it was on the Hammer Climb where the cycling tables were turned on their head by a masterclass in climbing delivered by a world-class sprinter.
He rolls out, he looks over the shoulder, says maximum again. There you go, that's how you climb, fellas.
He's making a fool out of everybody, Sam Bennett here.
With 5 top point scores under his belt, it seemed job done for the Bora Hansgrohe team, and Bennett duly fell to pieces. But nothing is ever over in Hammer Series, and Team Jumbo-Visma bided their time before launching into the lead on the very last lap.
It's Jumbo-Visma, the men in yellow, cross the line first, 200 points, and that will be the win in the Hammer Climb.
So a champagne finish when it was needed put Team Jumbo-Visma in a commanding position leading into the Hammer Sprint. Once again, the riders attacked the Stavanger circuit with abandon, and it was the turn of Deceuninck Quickstep to nail their colours to the mast with a great all-round showing, securing much-needed points by keeping riders at the sharp end in 8 out of the 10 sprints. The celebrations were well earned, but it still wasn't enough to knock Team Jumbo-Visma off top spot, and the team in yellow led the field out for the all-important Hammer Chase. Meanwhile, Mitchelton Scott's weekend was about to go from bad to worse.
That is disaster. So the man who's flown in especially for the Hammer Chase, or that's
Atkinson.
That is disaster for Mitchelton Scott.
Disaster indeed for the defending champions, and while the team managed to reform, it will be an uphill battle from there. While Team Jumbo-Visma powered on at the front, it was another team who stepped on the gas at the back.
They're now making their move to go past the Deceuninck Quickstep. What a stellar ride by Team CCC.
Team CCC carved up the field with a brilliant performance, but no one could catch the men in yellow.
They won the Hammer Climb. They were 6th in the Hammer Sprint. They led from the start today. They maintained the gap. Jumbo-Visma are the winners of Hammer Stavanger.
An emphatic beginning to the campaign for Team Jumbo-Visma, while Team CCC's stellar performance was enough to take the chase victory. But Hammer Stavanger belong to Team Jumbo-Visma. They sit on top of the series leaderboard on 100 points, ahead of Team Sunweb, while Mitchelton Scott, after a final day which started poorly, managed to hold on for third place heading to Limburg. Well, it's a fresh and exciting new concept for bike racing. Let's take a look now at how the Hammer Series works. The Hammer Series. 3 disciplines: climb, sprint and chase, team versus team, no individual ranking. Each team has 7 riders. 5 riders are then picked to race each discipline. All 3 disciplines are raced on short circuit loops. In the Hammer Climb and Hammer Sprint, the first 10 riders to cross the finishing line on each lap will score points for their team. The team with the most points at the end of each discipline wins. The final discipline is the Hammer Chase, a fox and hounds team time trial. Teams are split into 2 groups, finalists and runners-up. The groups and the team's starting positions are determined by their rankings after the climb and sprint. The first team in the finalist group whose 4th rider crosses the finishing line wins the event overall. There's the Drillanda Punkt, the point at which the three nations converge, and we've got 15 teams converging here for Hammer Limburg. Team Jumbo-Visma with the early advantage. Team Sunweb, Mitchell and Scott always go well in this event. Ineos CCC team, Deceuninck Quickstep, Bora Hansgrohe and Lotto Soudal. All of those top teams have really got the hang of Hammer Series racing.
And the teams with plenty left to do. Education first. UAE Team Emirates. They were ably assisted by Alexander Christoph in Stavanger, so they've got plenty of work to do, as have Team Dimension Data, Israel Cycling Academy, Trek Segafredo, quite a long way down the standings, and then two of the wildcard teams, Caja Rural from Spain and Nippo Vinifantini from Italy.
8.4 kilometres in total for the riders around this loop, and as you say, Robbie, it's a little bit different. They are using the same roads as previously. They've extended the circuit slightly, but more particularly, they're going the wrong way. They're going in the opposite direction.
It's in the opposite direction, so the descent is the climb, and last year's climb is the descent. A tricky little descent, a hairpin, also a little dogleg in it through a very skinny underpass, and it's this point, this hard turn back to the right. This is climb 1 on the circuit. It's not for points, but it will certainly sting the legs. 11% maximum on that section. Flatter roads, gradually downhill before they dive down into the town of Vals. This is the new section of the course. A few tricky little lefts and rights as they come through town and start to climb yet again. And the climb actually tops out at about 300 metres from the line. So you'll have to have your climbing legs on first, but then be ready to sprint to fight out the point. So it's a very tricky hammer climb. We know one thing for certain, you won't win it just being lucky.
There's the scene down in Vals as the riders get set to get going, and the team cars all lined up behind. Well, they've given that man a gun. That can't be a good idea. Tom de Moulin gets them underway, and the Hammer Climb, the first event in Hammer Limburg 2019, is underway as they ride through this 1.9 kilometres of neutralised section, which could, in its own way, be a little bit complicated. We're underway.
Yeah, kilometre 0, and they're off. Education first, right on the front foot, and that's what Hammer Series is all about. You've got to race aggressively, and that is always rewarded. And we're straight onto the climb. Education first, well, gone solo. No reaction from the peloton just yet.
With a relatively short run to the top of this climb, looks like it should be within Moreno Hofland's compass to hang on for some points here. Let's not assume anything though, because it's a grippy little gradient.
See Hofland looking back, really working hard. He's up and over that section now, coming into the long right-hander. So it looks like Hofland's attack has just been perfect to net him some points. And he would go on to take the first 100 points on offer and put Education first at the top of the table after half a lap.
Team Sunweb get up to take second points on the line. CCC also handily placed, but the best points, the top points scored by Moreno Hofland. Sprinters to the fore, Case Ball second. So the American squad, the first to score the top points, but it was the Olympic champion from CCC, Greg Van Avermaet, that launched the first meaningful attack, and Remco Evenepoel of the Deceuninck Quickstep squad immediately spotting the potential of that move, and he moved up to join the Belgian superstar. It was Tim Wellens that made it 3 Belgians up front as Lotto Soudal joined the fray with Deceuninck Quickstep and CCC behind. Well, a little bit of difficulty for Fabio Jakobsen. He'll look forward to the Hammer Sprint, where his particular talents really can shine. Remco Evenepoel is just about challenged by Tim Wellens, but hangs on to take top points for the Deceuninck Quickstep squad. Wellens, Scully, Van Avermaet, Bodner, Toluk, Feline all scoring well. Is that Feline really, for having loitered at the back, timed his effort well. The attack's coming hot and heavy as Tim Wellens decided there was a little bit of dead wood in there. He was going to try and thin it out a little bit. Even Remco Evenepoel for a moment looked as if he was having difficulty covering it, but it was the 2 Belgians that drew themselves clear.
Well, Evenepoel, if he wasn't attacking himself, he was reacting to an attack by another. Tim Wellens tried on a number of occasions and managed to finally split things up. Evenepoel, he rode back across the gap with Bodnar, who in turn, the big pole, he had too much power for the Belgians across the top of the climb, and he was taking the major points, frustrating the more lightly built climbers in the group.
It's worth burning a couple of matches as Bodnar got too much for the teenager, and he indeed is the top scorer for Bora Hansgrohe. Where are his teammates to try and back that one up? Evenepoel second across the line, Tim Wellens third, and Tom Scully is going to be fourth, and the double points lap, that's going to be useful. Maciej Bodnar, the Polish rider with the Bora Hansgrohe squad, just too strong in the sprints on at least a couple of occasions for Remco Evenepoel and the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad, with Tim Wellens watching admiringly but perhaps a little frustratedly as well, as he wasn't able to get on terms. Chasing behind, Feline Scully scoring well for Trek Segafredo and EF Education first. Hermans Hindley and Geschke get the final points. What's that done to the overalls? Well, Deceuninck Quick-Step still ticking along nicely, but a narrowing of the gap between themselves and the Bora Hansgrohe squad. EF Education first slipped further back, but still maintained position in third ahead of Lotto Soudal, CCC, Jumbo-Visma and the rest.
Well, the gaps were only ever small, and attack and counter-attack. And we saw Jai Hindley getting involved and trying to encourage the rest of the group to work together to close down the gap to that front group. Greg van Avermaet, well, he'd been ridden away from by this man, Remco Evenepoel.
He only knows one way. He wants to go again. He doesn't want to allow these riders in there. He's going to hammer it.
He's just going to keep going. You saw Bowman, he actually sat up and let him drift back to that chasing group and popped himself on the back. But Evenepoel, he knows no other way. If you can go, the road's open in front of you. Hit it as hard as you can. It's hammer time. This is Group 2 on the road, and it's an attack from Tim Wellens. Aramburu is the man who responds.
Well, did I say Tim Wellens was struggling to stay with them? He gets on terms, but he was hoodwinking a little bit, wasn't he? Because he's able immediately to jump away, and Aramburu it is who sees the danger and wants to get back on terms with him. So Wellens now clear and racing for second, but then no one is going to catch Remco Evenepoel for the top points. And remember, it's a double point score on this time up and across the line.
Well, here he comes, Remco Evenepoel, an attack halfway around the circuit on a nondescript piece of road, opened it up and then absolutely cleared out. 200 points for Deceuninck Quick-Step. Evenepoel, daylight second. Aramburu with Wellens, they look like they're going to take second and third. A look back for Wellens. Well, you've got to be looking forward.
As Aramburu is going to drag Carural up the standings with this contribution. Lotto Soudal scored third place points courtesy of Tim Wellens, and behind Bodnar is the premier sprinter really, ahead of Greg van Avermaet.
And it looks like this is going to be the 10 riders who fight out the rest of the points on this hammer climb. And it's just a march by Remco Evenepoel. He's been in everything. He's been beaten in a couple of the sprints by Bodnar. But as the race went on, he just got stronger. Well, he just maintained as the others got weaker. And he is almost single-handedly going to win this hammer climb for Deceuninck Quick-Step.
They're banging the boards to cheer the 19-year-old across the line. He gets the bell.
And he gets the 100 points.
There was nothing that anyone could do about Remco Evenepoel up front, as the CCC team with the numbers in the group, the only squad with more than one rider in the chase group. And Greg van Avermaet ensures the 81 goes to the CCC squad. Aramburu scores well for Carural. Up front, Remco Evenepoel was racing clear to take the double points on offer at the final time of asking. It had been an imperious performance. 5 sprints claimed by the young Belgian rider. A dominant performance, almost a one-man band, and Deceuninck Quick-Step taking victory in a hammer climb.
You know that the Hammer Series is a team race, right?
Yes, but the team asked me to take as much points as possible today, and that's what I did, I guess. Tomorrow is a day for the other guys. They can do whatever they want, but tomorrow I'll take a rest day.
Quick-Step ahead of CCC, Lotto Soudal, Bora Hansgrohe, Carural, Trek Segafredo. EF Education first, Team Jumbo-Visma, Team Sunweb and Israel Cycling Academy on the outside of the top 10, but a dominant performance for Deceuninck Quick-Step in the hammer climb. Day 2 of action in Hammer Limburg, and the riders repair to Sittard Geleen with the man of the moment, Remco Evenepoel. Robbie, the wind is blowing down here. It's going to be a factor.
It is going to be a big factor, Declan, as we were discussing just after breakfast. It's windy enough to blow the froth off your cappuccino. It is blowing at about 45 kilometres an hour out here, so that is a huge consideration for the teams. A lot of riders making sure they are really warming up properly.
Here's what they have in store. It's absolutely pan flat. There's only about 16 metres of elevation change across the 12.4 kilometres. Down here in Sittard Geleen, we're in Limburg the southern tip of the Netherlands, close to the borders with Belgium and Germany, and through the Tom de Moulin bike park, Robbie, and out into the countryside proper.
Yep, start with that criterium style of the circuit and then out onto the long open roads. And this first long straight section, the wind will be hitting them from the left-hand side. This is where we could already see splits occurring, is very open. A 90-degree right-hand turn, about a kilometre long along this section. And again, 90 degrees right. This section here through the fields, extremely open. It'll be pushing them across to the left-hand gutter, and I expect to see the race blown to smithereens. So could be as much an echelon race as a sprint race. And those that are left together will hit that final hairpin, line themselves up for the sprint into a very strong headwind. It'll be quite tactical. So a tough circuit, even though it's completely flat. Here in Holland, it's always windy, and today, an extra pinch on top.
CCC, second in the climb, want to put themselves in prime position in the early moments, and inevitably the attacks coming in the crosswind sections with Team Ineos. Filippo Ganna among the early attackers.
So 10 riders up the front, 3 more coming across right behind. They will not get there for the points on time. Lotto Soudal, who hit out first, but Jakobsen gets into the slipstream. Watch for the man in blue. He comes out of the slipstream, up and over the top with 50 metres to go.
Fabio Jakobsen takes the first top point hole of this afternoon, and that group of 10 have hoovered up all the points between them. They've kept it between them, and these 3 chasers are going to hope for a stall. Nathan van Hooydonk leading them behind, but it's Jakobsen, Nassen, Hofland, Ferrari, Hepburn, Frame, Bodnar, Van der Horn, Ganna and Hermans, your top 10, all scoring individually for their teams.
Jakobsen proven to be the quickest early on.
And that will be the pattern of the afternoon. Deceuninck Quickstep always with a rider into the move as Ganna continued to soldier on at the front to ensure that this group would stay clear to contest the second sprint of the afternoon.
And the next lap around will be double points.
It's Jakobsen finds himself in the lead-out role for Lampert. Bit of a surprise.
Well, it's very tactical racing.
Oh, the riders down in the gallop at the back, and there you go. That's bad news for the Trek Segafredo squad. I'm not sure if it was Degenkolb that went down or he's challenging up front as Jakobsen's just pipped by Valscheid, I think, who got that one. Max Valscheid ahead of Fabio Jakobsen. John Degenkolb gets up ahead of Lampert, Ferrari, Bodnar, Van der Horn, Dool, Ganna and Thompson score the final points, as that has changed the composition of this group. Have all those riders managed to get up? Well, let's hope they have.
Well, they managed to stand up. We'll see it at the back here. Alex Frame is one of the ones gone down as Lawrence Nassen overlapped the wheel of one of the Mitchelton Scott riders. It was Hepburn, and Lawrence Nassen went down. Alex Frame went over the top. Also, Guillaume van Kiersbroek was taken out by that crash. He didn't fall, but did you see the disgust here from the Trek Segafredo rider? Alex Frame.
Let's get
see it on the onboard.
This isn't going to be fun.
He's gone straight over the top. So it was Nassen who went down, and Frame just had nowhere to go. And then a 5-man group moved away.
Here we go. Van der Horn, Meyer, Dool, Lampert and Bodnar. The composition of this group. The last man to join is the man at the back here, multi-track world champion Cameron Meyer.
Well, there's the finish in the distance. You can see it. They're only about 300 metres away as they enter the gates of the Tom Dumoulin bike park. Cameron Meyer, ever the tactician, he's got on, had a quick breather. He's trying to line them up, get some big points. I'd pick Yves Lampaert as the fastest man of this group, but it's getting tactical. Cameron Meyer looking across at Van der Horn, and he makes his attack.
Well, you knew it was going to happen as Dekker van der Horn goes and Cameron Meyer tries to pick up that wheel. Wayne Dool is there as well for Team Ineos. Is coming out of the wheels on the right-hand side of your pictures. Matthew Bodnar of the Bora Hansgrohe squad. He goes up against Cameron Meyer. Lampert comes with a late run, but it's Matthew Bodnar that's going to get the top points ahead of Lampert, Meyer, van der Horn and Dool as we wait for the remains of the breakaway group behind. Look like they're about to be caught by the bunch, but quite the scrap between Jakobsen and Valscheid for the 6th place across the line. Schilliner, Degenkolb and Hepburn making it 2 for the Mitchelton Scott squad in that top 10. And what's that translated into? Nice haul of points for the Deceuninck Quickstep team, courtesy of Yves Lampert and Fabio Jakobsen. So Matthew Bodnar, one of the strongest riders in the Hammer Climb the previous day. Might have been on more familiar ground, the flat road. Disappointment for Yves Lampert, but he was keeping the scoreboard ticking along nicely. Taco van der Horn does not want to lead this one out. Maybe, I suppose, because he's the man doing all the scoring, it seems entirely reasonable that it's Matthew Bodnar that's going to get to lead it out. They're going to leak a bit of their advantage here because they're definitely losing time. This is a slow lead out.
Well, this is what makes this a Hammer sprint so entertaining as the acceleration comes, but if Lampard makes the jump first and the Belgian champion in front.
So it was Lampard that goes first, and Taco van der Hoorn was also of the same mind to go. Bodnar leaving it late, he's going to come around. Nicely played, but he doesn't quite get there in time, and it's Yves Lampert that makes it a top score ahead of Mathieu Bodnar. Van der Hoorn hangs on for third ahead of Doel and Meyer, and immediately Lampert, having scored the top points, stays at the front. Behind, you've got Jakobsen continuing to keep the scoreboard ticking along. It's nice scoring from Deceuninck Quickstep as Yves Lampert scoring well and having a good old ding-dong battle with Mathieu Bodnar for top points for their respective teams.
Well, they were going toe-to-toe for most of the afternoon, the Belgian champion and the Polish strongman. But in the background, Team Sunweb, well, they were trying to bring everything back together because they were seeing themselves slipping down the leaderboard. But the resistance was strong at the front.
Look at the rate of progress of the bunch behind. This is going to be really, really close, and it's going to have a big impact on the scoring as they get into the barriers. So they're inside the final 100 metres. They're going to contest. Lampard's going to lead them out. Bodnar challenges, not going to get there. It's Lampard that takes it for Deceuninck Quickstep. Very useful as Jakobsen gets up from the bunch to take sixth across the line ahead of Morkov, Baska, Marechko, Valscheid and the rest.
And really, that five-man front group, the other four, have really got to thank Cam Meyer. He's the man who did some really big turns to keep them away. Well, we've seen that as a key of the Hammer Series so many times. Having one rider doing very well is good. Having two riders in the top 10 is fantastic. And that was really setting Deceuninck Quickstep up. But that five-man group, they were hauled back in. A shake of hands between Lampard and Bodnar. And then the road was open in front. It was Eduardo Affini, the young man from Mitchelton Scott, who struck out on his own in search of points.
And he eventually was joined by three others up front. Jakobsen, a fine sprinter, so too. Martens is going to launch first. The German feeling a little bit vulnerable, and it's Cees Bol up through the middle as Jakobsen picks up the wheel, and Affini's going to try and hang on as long as he possibly can. It's relatively easy for Cees Bol ahead of his fellow countryman Fabio Jakobsen. Paul Martens next up as expected, Eduardo Affini, and the bunch within seconds with Jos van Emden making it a decent haul of points for the Jumbo-Visma squad. Barbier gets up to score, I think, for the first time ahead of Valscheid, Stuyven, Frame and McClay.
Well, after that sprint, there was another counter-attack with a big group going away, and they were like a well-oiled machine. Mark Renshaw, the Aussie from Dimension Data, had also made the move. But as they came to the next sprint, it was Sepp van Mark, the classic specialist from Belgium. He tried hard all afternoon, and now he'd got the gap.
100 points on offer for the Belgian Sepp van Mark as he's going to ride this one up to the line and straight through. He gets the bell, and 100 points to go with it for the EF Education first team, trying to move up the order a little bit from their current 9th position. So Jakobsen ahead of Martens, Renshaw, Bald, Schillinger, Rosa, Stuyven, Affini and Frisson. They're the scorers from the group up front.
Well, Jakobsen, it seemed if he wasn't winning, he was at least second. He was taking so many points out there this afternoon, and Deceuninck Quickstep absolutely dominating, doubling the points of their nearest rivals. As we came into the last lap, CCC trying to make amends, trying to get their man Marechko up for the sprint. But the front group were proving to be too cooperative with each other, and the attacks were on.
Cees Bol going for glory through to the final double score sprint of the afternoon. The sprinter to try to go solo inside the final kilometre, but there was no way that Fabio Jakobsen was going to allow that. Jakobsen wants to get on terms with the Dutchman, and it's Martens behind, and Jakobsen is going to be able to race across the gap, or is he? As Paul Martens looks as if he's running out of gas a little bit, and Schillinger just behind him with Stuyven trying to cover it. Affini's out on his wheels, so too Sepp van Mark, Mark Renshaw and the rest. As we look up front, is Cees Bol going to be able to drag Jakobsen up to the line? Doesn't seem too keen on doing that. Paul Martens killing himself to try and close the gap. It's going to be good news for Schillinger, Stuyven, Affini, Sepp van Mark, Mark Renshaw, Diego Rosa, and finally back and into the wheels for the Lotto Soudal team is Frederick Frisson. The sprint finally launches. Schillinger's going to go, and it is the group up front that are going to contest the final sprint of the day, and it's going to be the late show coming from Fabio Jakobsen. Surely no one's going to stop him. Arms aloft to celebrate the victory of Deceuninck Quickstep. It's a double point score at the death for Fabio Jakobsen. All too easy for Deceuninck Quickstep. Schillinger next across the line. Affini finds something for a sprint, as indeed does Van Mark, Rosa, Stuyven, Renshaw, Friesson, Martens and Balder sprinting behind, but it matters not because Fabio Jakobsen has taken the final double point score. And look about that for a points total. The Deceuninck Quickstep, total domination, almost double the points of the next best team. Bora Hansgrohe happy enough with second, but it's a clenched fist salute from Fabio Jakobsen. He's given the local fans what they wanted.
Fabio Jakobsen, it was the Hammer sprint, but you did everything, mostly sprinted really well, but you attacked, you chased, you topped it off with a sprint at the end. Trying to match what happened yesterday by your young teammate?
Yeah, no, yesterday was not for me, and probably today was not for him. So yeah, we switched, and I was in the first group together with Lampi, and I immediately felt I had good legs, and the whole team was up front the whole time, and makes it more easy for me to sprint also.
So coming into that final double point sprint, I mean, I suppose you knew at that point you could not lose, but you wanted to put the exclamation mark on the end of this Hammer sprint and win that one as well. Well,
of course, we are racing, and in the end, it's also training a little bit. So I just wanted to keep focus and do the best I can, like we do every race, and that's in the end also to try to win the last sprint. So.
A slightly longer Hammer chase this year. It's an extra lap before Deceuninck Quickstep to try and hold off Bora Hansgrohe. Just 30 seconds between them after 2 tough days of bike racing. With Team Jumbo-Visma almost a minute back from Deceuninck Quickstep. Team Sunweb have to close a gap of 1 minute and 23 seconds. Trek Segafredo, Lotto Soudal, CCC and EF Education first, with much to do, but still well, a great opportunity to take the overall victory in Hammer Limburg. Hammer Limburg 2019 would conclude with the Hammer Chase. 4 laps of a 12.4 kilometre circuit for the riders. The same circuit that they raced the previous day, but now it's in team time trial format with 2 groups racing. The runner-up group of 7 squads to decide the finishing positions from 9th through to 15th. And the squads away with diminishing gaps between them. First team over the line would be declared the 9th place finisher in the Hammer Limburg 2019.
As we zoom in from outer space and down onto the course here, the start and finish at the Tom Dumoulin Bike Park. And it's the same 12.4 kilometre circuit that the riders took on yesterday in the Hammer Sprint. They're very familiar with the course. It will hold absolutely no surprises. There's a lot less wind today, so it'll make that riding in team's time trial formation a lot easier. These very long straights, and was on this section yesterday, the wind was hitting them hard from the left-hand side. But, it'll be a much smoother and easier ride technically on the time trial bikes. Probably the most difficult corner on the circuit down there, high speed with a slight tailwind, that long straight coming up after that on the way back into Sittard. And wide open roads, smooth surfaces all the way in. Just this hairpin turn with just under 600 metres to go. And 50 kilometres of racing. So they've got about an hour to make the catch.
No problem, get it done in an hour. 4 laps of 12.4 kilometres. That makes up just a smidgen under 50k of bike racing today.
Well, Declan, in this runners-up group, a number of the World Tour teams here at Hammer Limburg, and with a point to prove, 2 of the big-name teams. Pre-race favourites, you could have said, in Team Ineos and Mitchelton Scott are in the runners-up group, along with Dimension Data, who made an early catch of Team UAE. Dimension Data, I said before the start, I do expect them to make a few catches, and they've already caught up really quickly within 10 kilometres.
So the Team Dimension Data team have dispensed with the UAE Team Emirates squad. Israel Cycling Academy squad are now caught Carural. Israel Cycling Academy started 4th in this runner-up group, and they made up a gap now of 25 seconds to Carural, put them behind them smoothly and without too much difficulty for the Israel Cycling Academy team. 15th in the chase in Limburg 2018. The best overall position of 13th from Stavanger in 2018 as well. So for them, an opportunity, I think, for a best possible performance in Hammer Series history. So 112.5 kilometre lap is about to be completed for Team Ineos. They're still in the lead, still hanging on to 9th place overall, but it's looking a little bit ominous for the Ineos squad. Ryan Dool having dropped to the back. He was the man on that on the front through that right-hander and immediately stepped off the gas, dropped up and let his teammates get back on. Instructed as well, didn't Kenny Ellison was out of the saddle, absolutely flat out, just to stay in the wheels, but all nice and neatly done. But it's down to now just an advantage of 9 seconds. There is the Israel Cycling Academy squad down to 4 riders. They've managed to overhaul the Caroral team, who began this test with just 4 riders. So disappointment really for the Israel Cycling Academy team, going so well, but have already lost a rider. Here we have at the moment when Mitchell and Scott are going to move into the lead of this runner-up group, and it's bad news for Leonardo Basso as he gets a shout from his teammates to let them know that the Mitchell and Scott squad are coming by.
Well, there is the pass, and that is a pretty slick pass too. They are going so much quicker along this stretch. Mitchelton Scott, maybe a little bit of a rush of adrenaline making the pass, but trying to make it cleanly and quickly and get into their rhythm, and probably wanted to make it before that little switch through to make it clean, get your last rider clear of the team you're passing before that little chicane through to the other side of the road. Gaps opened up.
On the charge in the early stages as well, starting the day 6th in this runner-up group was the Dimension Data team, and they were overhauling teams in front of them, as indeed were Team UAE Emirates, as they managed to get across and above the 4 riders representing Caroral, but nothing they could do about the progress of the Australian registered Mitchell and Scott squad, who were in imperious form throughout the day in their favourite discipline of team time trial. No one to touch them. They want to win the Hammer Chase in Limburg, and they desperate to try and achieve that for a second successive year. The Mitchell and Scott squad of Alex Edmondson, Michael Hepburn, Cameron Meyer, Rob Stannard and Eduardo Affini come across the line to complete 49.6 kilometres. It's been a solid performance to say the least. 54 minutes dead is their recorded time. They will finish 9th overall in Hammer Limburg 2019.
Let's remember, take 30 seconds off that time because the clock was already ticking when they went off. So it's a 53:30 time for the Hammer Chase for Mitchelton Scott.
4th in Stavanger, following up with 10th. Warm round of applause for the Team Ineos squad as Leonardo Basso, Wendell, Kenny Ellison, Filippo Ganna and Diego Rosa complete their 49.6 kilometres of torture.
Dimension Data, as we expected, they've made the pass on 3 teams ahead of them. Quite the scrap behind at Israel Cycling Academy. Well, looking like they just went too early with that rush to the line. Dimension Data, and they stopped the clock.
Team Dimension Data solidly through 3rd in the runner-up group. There is the finishing order. Mitchell and Scott just under a minute ahead of Team Ineos. Team Dimension Data 3rd across the line, just under 3 minutes behind. UAE Team Emirates, Israel Cycling Academy, Caroral and Nippo Vinifantini in that order to complete the runner-up group and to complete the first half of our racing action here in Limburg this afternoon.
These 8 teams, our finalist group, well, they'll be in the back of their mind thinking about that time as well. But the most important thing at the Hammer Series is just be the first team across the line, and it's Deceuninck Quickstep who will lead them away with a 30-second gap over Bora Hansgrohe. If they can hold them off, and indeed everybody else, they will win Hammer Limburg. They'll make it 3 from 3 over the 3 days.
30-second advantage for the Deceuninck Quickstep.
3, 2, 1, go!
And the finalist group is underway as the Hammer Chase begins in earnest, and this is for the overall victory. They have earned an advantage of just 30 seconds. Is that fair? They've been dominant. They've over 1,000 points, scored more than Bora Hansgrohe, the next best team, but only 30 seconds advantage. What can Bora Hansgrohe do about getting on terms?
Well, that's the beauty of the Hammer Series. Those time gaps are predetermined, no matter how many points you score in the other disciplines. 30 seconds, that is how quick that goes, because they are off and in hot pursuit of Deceuninck Quickstep, and they see them cross over on the other side of the Tom Dumoulin Bike Park, and they will have them in their sights for most of this Hammer Chase. That is quite an advantage. Even though they're 30 seconds behind, they have the advantage of seeing their prey up in front, and in turn, they'll be seen by Team Jumbo-Visma.
Bora have already closed 2 seconds advantage on the Deceuninck Quickstep squad as Team Jumbo-Visma 3rd into action here, and they're going for Glory Cohen-Bowman, Tom Laser, Paul Martins, Jos van Emden and Taco van der Hoorn are the quintet that are racing for the Jumbo-Visma team. Got to chase 28 seconds to get on terms with Bora Hansgrohe. Meanwhile, up front, they're already well into action, and having lost a couple of seconds through the sports zone, they've managed to actually add a few seconds. It's a net gain of 6 seconds since they left the bike park for the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad.
And here's a catch already.
Yeah,
CCC off to a flying start past Lotto Soudal.
It's not entirely surprising that they're catching Lotto Soudal. It's a little bit surprising they're catching them just as quickly as they are. They've closed a 20-second margin to get on terms and move up into 6th overall. The CCC squad, when we pick up the cameras again from the Team Jumbo-Visma squad, they're on a bit of a charge. They have within their sights now 22 seconds, is it, if my maths are vaguely correct, between the Bora Hansgrohe squad and Team Jumbo-Visma. So Team Jumbo-Visma with a super chance of improving upon their third place starting order. Remember, they were just 8th in the Hammer Climb, and it looked difficult for them, didn't it, after their great success a couple of weeks ago in Stavanger. And CCC, well, they're mopping up the teams in front of them, and the Trek Segafredo squad, which had lost about 24 seconds to the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad through the first kilometres. Well, there's what the implications of that are, because they're dropping back into the clutches of the CCC team, who have already overhauled Lotto, who've moved up from 7th into 6th and are about to move up into 5th. Already a lap completed for the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad. Off the start line and into action, and now just under 12.5 kilometres are completed. Lap 1 for the finalist group, completed in 13 minutes and 30 seconds for the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad, who, remember, started with an advantage of 30 seconds, have put another 50% of that into the Bora Hansgrohe team through that first lap. So it looks good for Deceuninck Quick-Step. Great beginning from a standing start. Mitchell and Scott desperate to get that Hammer Chase victory. So the catch is made with EF Education first, moving ahead of Lotto Soudal, as Tom Steels gives the instructions to his team to understand that Fabio Jakobsen, who was pretty nervous, wasn't he, going into this one, how many points has he contributed for this team? It is a team event, and it's a team event over 3 days, and he sprinted and sprinted and sprinted again, and what a contribution that he made yesterday. But he's been excused duties for a few seconds at any rate. They'll try and keep him in there as long as possible. He's the rider on the back here. Look at that. Team Jumbo-Visma are about to overhaul the Bora Hansgrohe squad. We suggested that this could be likely to happen in the Bora Hansgrohe team, with Maciej Bodnar a little bit concerned about the ability of his team to overhaul Deceuninck Quick-Step before the start. Bora Hansgrohe drop into 3rd, and they've got their instructions. Just try and stay on terms outside the slipstream, but within touching distance of the Jumbo-Visma team. Deceuninck Quick-Step come up to complete. They have maintained their advantage. They started this race with a lead of just 30 seconds on Bora Hansgrohe, who have been replaced as the second place team by Team Jumbo-Visma. An advantage now up over a minute and 9 seconds, and it's continuing to rise over the second place team as Bora Hansgrohe stay in touch and are merely now focusing on the battle for second. But could Team Sunweb be coming with a charge behind? What are CCC doing in terms of making progress as well? And finally, Jure Sagan cries enough. It's been a brave effort. And the Slovakian former national road race champion has given of his best, and he'll leave it up to his 4 teammates in the closing stages. So they need to make sure they keep it all together.
Jumbo-Visma losing one just after Bora Hansgrohe let go of Sagan.
Job well done for Taco van der Hoorn. It's been a pretty smooth and very impressive progress for that squad.
Well, it's not just your average team's time trial, the Hammer Chase. It is teams time trialing for most of it. Then it's a battle, team against team. Get your 4th man across the line, and that is what really counts. So everybody holding their position at the moment. This is an intriguing battle, whether Bora Hansgrohe can haul themselves back up to the men in yellow and see if they can sprint their way past.
Well, first 5K of lap 4 at an average of 380 watts. Not bad indeed. Look at the speed across the tarmac. Here come Bora Hansgrohe. They've saved something for the final push. This is going to be interesting as Maciej Bodnar hits the front, the Polish rider who was such a strong rider. He's actually sitting on the back here. It's I do believe Gatto, is it? No, surely not. On the front. Or is it Baska? That would make more sense, wouldn't it?
Well, this is where the battle gets interesting. When do you make the pass? Do you wait and try and make it a sprint? Do you try and go over the top from long range and then hold them off?
inside the final push for glory. It will be confirmation of a dominant performance through the weekend. It was nothing to touch them. Over 1,000 points in the Hammer climb, courtesy in large measure from the man wearing number 52 dossard here, Remco Evenepoel. Yesterday we had some great glory from Yves Lampert and Fabio Jakobsen, but all 5 and indeed all 6 riders from the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad have contributed greatly. It's going to be a glorious success for the Belgian outfit as they fan across the road. They want to enjoy this moment together because the Deceuninck Quick-Step squad are inside the final 100 metres. They've done the work. They've performed admirably, beautifully, and it is victory in Hammer Limburg 2019 for Deceuninck Quick-Step. And is that time going to be good enough? Not so sure it is. 54.01 for the Deceuninck Quick-Step. Mitchell and Scott still very much the fastest. Looks like they're on course for victory in the day. And on the day, here comes Sunweb, want to get involved in the party. Bora Hansgrohe hit the front in the battle for second, just behind them Team Jumbo-Visma. And coming with a late charge, Sunweb have got into the slipstream of the riders in front.
Well, this is going to be a great finish, and this is what really sets the Hammer Series apart. Team racing, it's a team's time trial format, the Hammer Chase. Until this point right now, it's team against team, and it's sprinting it out, getting your 4th man across the line. Sunweb, are they going to make it up? The battle's on between the top 2 here. Jumbo-Visma and Bora Hansgrohe.
Well, it's surely not going to be enough time for Team Sunweb to get up to scrap for second, but Bora Hansgrohe have been overhauled. They did go a little bit early, and Team Jumbo-Visma, who closed down a 28-second gap to get on terms. But remember, all 4 riders have to sprint here because it's your 4th rider across the line. Sunweb still charging, still believing they've got a shot, but they've dropped a rider, and that's not going to help them. So it is indeed Team Jumbo-Visma second across the line ahead of Bora Hansgrohe and Team Sunweb. A blanket finish in the battle for the minor and podium finishes, but it is Team Jumbo-Visma that gets second, Bora Hansgrohe in third, Sunweb 4th. But the victors, Deceuninck Quick-Step, no one to touch them. And there you have it, the confirmation that Deceuninck Quick-Step get the victory ahead of Team Jumbo-Visma. Bora Hansgrohe in third, just pipping Team Sunweb. CCC up for 5th, super time from them. Trek Segafredo in 6th, EF Education 1st, 7th, and the final finisher in the finalist group, Lotto Soudal. The Hammer Chase going to the Mitchell and Scott squad. Mitchell and Scott with a 16-second win over the CCC squad. Team Sunweb, Deceuninck Quick-Step, EF Education 1st, and the rest. Let's hear from the Mitchell and Scott team now.
Down here with the Mitchell and Scott team. Now, Michael Hepburn, you called it before you went out on course. Although you're in the runners-up group, the focus was on winning the Hammer Chase, and you said, we'll catch Ineos, we'll also set the fastest time. You're some sort of Nostradamus.
Well, that's what we're hoping for, yeah. Obviously, starting in the B group, we were never going to get up for the overall. We lost a little bit too much time in the first couple of days, but coming into today, the focus was to try and win the chase. And we have a strong team for today, and everyone produced a really good ride, and luckily it was enough.
Hammer Series Limburg confirmed indeed with Team Jumbo-Visma in the lead. First and second for the first 2 events of the year. Hammer Hong Kong to come. Deceuninck Quick-Step sitting second and with a shot at overall series victory. Who would bet against them after that performance this weekend? Okay, let's hear from the Deceuninck Quick-Step team, the overall winners of Team Limburg 2019.
Deceuninck Quick-Step, you guys did it. A clean sweep, as it were. You won the Hammer Climb, you won the Hammer Sprint, and now held everybody off. And you won Hammer Limburg. How good does it feel?
Amazing feeling. We did a very good team time trial today, where we kept the distance to the teams behind, even though we could see them every time we passed at the finish line. But we did a very smooth ride, and I'm proud of the boys.
You're deservedly very proud of everybody's efforts. Now, when you went out there, was there much thought at all on setting the fastest time to try and win the Hammer Chase and really sweep everything, or just make sure you got 4 riders across the line first, win Hammer Limburg?
We tried to race a bit conservative, so we was going for the overall win first. But since we heard during the race that we had good times, the last lap we tried also to hammer down and see if we could take the stage.
As we celebrate another glorious success for Deceuninck Quick-Step. It's goodbye from Hammer Limburg, from myself, Declan Quigley, from Robbie McEwen alongside. We'll be back with you again, but for now, it's goodbye.